From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm David Forrest reporting a river boat sinks. China says a passenger ship traveling the Yangtze River with more than 450 people on board sank Monday night in the Hubei region of central China. China's Xinhua news agency says the vessel was headed from Nanjing to Chongqing, and there were no immediate reports of casualties. The White House has criticized the Senate for failing to reach an agreement before legal authority expired for the National Security Agency to collect American telephone data. Supporters blamed Senator Rand Paul, a 2016 Republican presidential candidate, for the impasse. Michael Bowman has more.
Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell argued for a temporary extension of the NSA's snooping abilities to no avail.
Allow the program to expire altogether without attempting to replace it in the face of growing, aggressive, and sophisticated threats. That's a totally unacceptable outcome.
The Senate will debate the bill through Tuesday. Should it pass unaltered, it would go to the White House for President Obama's signature. The bill has Mr. Obama's backing. Michael Bowman, the Capitol.
A U.S. journalist held in Yemen, Casey Combs, has been released, but details of his detention remain unclear. The U.S. is vowing to free more Americans from the country. Iraqi officials say Islamic State militants drove a tank filled with explosives into an Iraqi police base on Monday, killing at least 37 people and injuring dozens more. The suicide bombing near Samarra targeted security forces. Spokesman for Burundi President Pierre Nkurunziza said Monday the government there will consider a request from East African leaders to postpone next month's presidential election. This is VOA News. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of an American woman who was denied a job because she wears a Muslim headscarf. Samantha Eloff brought her case in 2008 when an Abercrombie & Fitch store in Oklahoma rejected her for employment. The assistant manager said she was qualified, but a manager decided the headscarf would violate the store's dress code. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham of the southern state of South Carolina, an outspoken advocate for U.S. military intervention overseas, joined the crowded Republican field Monday seeking his party's 2015 presidential nomination. Graham announced his bid in his hometown of Central South Carolina.
Ronald Reagan's policy of peace through strength kept America safe during the Cold War. Remember those times? But I've come to conclude we will never enjoy peaceful coexistence with radical Islam.
Graham is the 9th Republican to announce his candidacy. The United Nations says South Sudan has decided to expel the UN deputy representative to that nation. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon condemned the move and called on South Sudan to reverse the decision. Dozens of people were killed Monday in the Nigerian city of Onitsha when a fuel tanker exploded at a crowded bus terminal. Many people were injured. Red Cross officials say the tanker veered out of control, perhaps due to brake failure. U.S. President Barack Obama sternly warned China Monday that its land reclamation projects in the South China Sea are counterproductive and a threat to Southeast Asian prosperity. He made the remarks to a group of young Southeast Asian leaders visiting the United States. UN human rights monitors say there is growing evidence of Russian military involvement in the war in Ukraine. They have released their 10th report on the situation in that country. The report comes shortly after 2 suspected Russian soldiers were captured in Ukraine. Lisa Schlein reports.
Russia denies its soldiers are fighting in eastern Ukraine, but UN Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights, Ivan Simonovich, says monitors who interviewed the Russian soldiers in private on May 21st reached a different conclusion.
There is increasing evidence that active servicemen from Russian Federation may be operating in Ukraine.
Simonovich says there also are reports of sophisticated heavy weaponry and fighters being supplied from the Russian Federation. Lisa Schlein, Geneva.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry headed home today from Europe after breaking his leg in a bicycling accident. Kerry was hospitalized in Geneva, Switzerland, after the accident on Sunday. From the VOA News Center in Washington, I'm David Forrest.
That's the latest world news from VOA.